Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the meeting of the Cabinet of Staffordshire County Council today, Wednesday, the 15th of June 2022. First item on the agenda is apologies. Mr. Bradbury.
Good morning, Leader. I'm not in receipt of any apologies for this morning's meeting.
Could I give the apologies for Councillor DeVille, please? Second item is declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order 16. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Chair, so I'll declare an interest on the item regarding the Newcastle Enterprise Centre.
Are there any other declarations of interest? For the record, nobody's indicating. Third item is the decision notice of the meeting held on the 18th of May 2022. Could I have your approval as for the decision notices of the 18th of May 2022?
Move it, Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Leader's Update. Colleagues, as you know, I was among the 3,000 entrants from 55 countries to take part in last weekend's Staffordshire Ironman, which made a welcome return after 2 COVID-affected years. It was incredible to see so many spectators out in force along a spectacular route, one that showcases the best of Staffordshire. However, there was very sad news late in the day when one of the entrants died after falling ill during the swim. Our thoughts are with the gentleman's family, and I know the organisers at Ironman are providing them with all the support they can. Councillor Wilson, was there anything you'd like to say in addition to what I've just said on that item?
Thank you, Leader. Just to say what a wonderful event we had on Sunday. We had such a turnout from members of the public. It was dreadfully sad to hear the tragic news that we lost a gentleman during Chasewater during the swim, a chap called Andy Hay, who was aged 51 from Berkshire, and obviously our thoughts are with his family. Thank you.
Moving on, since our last meeting, the nation came together to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Congratulations firstly to all the Staffordshire residents recognising the Queen's birthday honours this month, including Catherine Mann, our Interim Assistant Director for Culture, Rural and Safer Communities, for her national work promoting a literate, kinder society, as well as being the head of the county's library service for more than a decade. And really well done to Catherine, very, very well deserved. I hope you all enjoyed the Jubilee celebrations too, and some of the hundreds of events and street parties across the county. Events like the Jubilee feel extra special this year, bringing people and communities together after the pandemic. Elsewhere, through Project Gigabit, the County Council is accelerating work to improve digital connections across Staffordshire. Making as many places as possible gigabit ready will increase digital capacity for all through greater bandwidth and lightning fast connectivity. Predictions are that within 5 years, every home will have 200 plus internet-reliant devices, from central heating to toothbrushes and your fridge, apparently. For businesses, this investment promises hugely improved productivity, resilience, and flexible working. Through Project Gigabit, we will work with broadband and mobile providers, developers, and government to give Staffordshire properties access to gigabit speeds by 2030. More immediately, we know that many are struggling with rising energy bills and increasing prices in shops and at the petrol pumps. This week, we are launching our holiday activities and food programme ahead of the summer school break. The programme is free for 5 to 16-year-olds who receive free school meals or other related benefits. They can sign up to a range of activities from sports to dance, horse riding to roller skating, and be fed a healthy meal. Please look on our website for more details of this and other support available for people struggling with the cost of living. Finally, colleagues, and sadly, this is the last Cabinet meeting for our Deputy Chief Executive and Director for Families and Communities, Helen Riley, who will be retiring at the end of the month. You can't believe that somebody gets to retire at 40, can you? In her 18 years at the County Council, Helen has covered almost every senior job and led many of our biggest change programmes, from Infrastructure Plus to Children's Transformation. She's also been brilliant to work with, passionate, energetic, warm, funny and hugely talented. And that's not just what's written down here, Helen. I mean it from the heart. You'll be missed, Helen, and on behalf of everyone at the County Council, thank you, and we wish you the best for the future. And in a change to our normal form, Helen, would you like to say a few words?
Well, surprisingly for me, I've got very few words. Thank you for all those kind messages that you just gave, Leader. It's I find it quite emotional at the moment. So, as I say, for me, struggling to string a sentence together. 18 years have gone in a flash. I can't believe that it's been 18 years. I've had the best of times, which is why I've stayed at this county council. It's a great place to work. Been supported. I'm grateful for the trust that has been shown to me by every political administration that I've worked with across those 18 years, and I've felt very much part of a team Staffordshire as we've taken this county council and this county forward. I will miss it hugely, but I'm sure that I will find plenty to occupy my time. But I've got very mixed emotions at the moment, and as I say, it feels very odd, and I'll miss everybody, so thank you.
Thank you, Helen. I've only been a county councillor for 13 years. Ian's been significantly longer than I have. Ian, have you got anything you'd like to add before we move on?
Yeah, it does seem to have flown by, Helen, and I can't think of anybody who's had the experience across the county council as a senior officer that you've had in terms of leading all those things. And you forget about some of them, infrastructure plus, etc. All those things that you led on in terms of transformation, in terms of improving the county, improving the services that we provide, and leading teams of people, because I do know that people enjoy working for Helen, and whether that's as the politicians or as employees, staff, people have experienced a good working environment, a good working relationship, very positive. So yeah, an outstanding career, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. I'm going to miss you, me old fruit. All right. Our chats about cycling, our shared northern interests, and some of the heart-to-hearts we had over the years, which I found extremely helpful. But best of luck, and I hope you look forward to this next phase. It is a next phase, but anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on to our next item. Did the comment about being an old fruit get recorded, do you think? Or never mind. On to our next item, which is the minutes of the meeting held of the property subcommittee. Minutes of the meeting of the property subcommittee held on the 1st of June 2022.
Move it.
It is moved. Moving on then to very swiftly on to Staffordshire Means Back to Business oral update, brought to you today by the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. We're with you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So in my last update to Cabinet, I promised that I would I'd provide a specific update at this meeting on some of our work, particularly geared towards delivering our skills agenda, which is a key strand in what I consider to be our overarching priority within our economy, which is delivering more higher paid, higher skilled jobs for people to enjoy in Staffordshire. We always like to talk about statistics, and I'll do that at the end of my report in terms of the trends. But we know that in Staffordshire we're very fortunate that we have very low rates of unemployment versus both regional and national averages. But that creates challenges in itself. The first of those is the challenge of making sure that businesses receive the employees that they need. And the second is making sure, of course, that those people who do struggle to access employment do have every opportunity possible to achieve that. And with that in mind, I'd like to talk about three schemes that we have, two of which are up and running, one of which we are about to launch. And I'll talk about that one first, which is our Staffordshire Jobs Brokerage Scheme, which will fly under the banner of Staffordshire Jobs and Careers. So the objective of this is to fill a gap in the support that's provided to people, specifically based on our place, based on Staffordshire, to link jobs and businesses with individuals who are looking for employment. This is aligned with the existing services that are out there, so particularly people like DWP with their Job Centre Plus, the National Careers Service and Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce. And the basic premise of it is to provide jobs matching service to link individuals with jobs that are suitable for them. It's going to be driven primarily through an online platform, so you'll be able to find one site where you can access hopefully all jobs that are available in Staffordshire and easily match jobs to your skills. But it will be underpinned with employment brokers who will be able to help you specifically with your needs if you need something more than the digital platform can provide. Residents will also be able to use the website to search for apprenticeship and training opportunities, to view information on priority sectors. So if you want to get an idea about where you or somebody who's close to you might want to focus their education and training efforts with a job in mind, and also a careers directory. And this will also be aligned with our Open Door programme, which has been running now for a decade and helps vulnerable people to gain meaningful work experience in the workplace, and has a great track record of success in terms of placing people into jobs. So that's our jobs brokerage scheme, which will be up and running from July. The second thing that I'd like to update colleagues on is our Apprenticeship 500, which was launched as part of the Staffordshire Means Back to Business programme, which we launched during the pandemic to support businesses and individuals. As the name suggests, that was aiming to help businesses recruit an additional 500 apprentices in Staffordshire, and that was focused on smaller and medium-sized businesses, providing funding both for the training element of apprenticeships but also salary support. Now, I'm pleased to say, colleagues, that that scheme is now up to a little over 400 of the 500 apprentices that we're aiming for. And we've had 205 businesses who have taken on apprentices through that scheme, which is fantastic news. But today I would like to, I'd like to make a call, hopefully through the good representatives of the press who are here, to say we've got about another 100 places to fill on that. And I'd love to overshoot a little bit as well and come back to my cabinet colleagues to ask for a little bit more money for that scheme. So if you are a business interested in the opportunities that having apprentices in your business can bring, do come and talk to the County Council about that, and we can provide fantastic support to get apprentices into your business. The final scheme that I will just update you on is Ignite, which is our county-wide scheme designed to encourage people in their final year at college to understand the basics of entrepreneurialism and enterprise, and to encourage some of them hopefully to set up their own businesses. Now, that is another strand of providing highly skilled, highly paid employment, because people who set up their own businesses are providing employment for themselves, but they also typically tend to go on to employ others. So it's very important, and we want people to start early in their working lives as well. I think it's a great idea for somebody when they're at the start of their working life, if they've got a good idea, go and have a go with some proper help and advice to make sure that you aren't doing it completely in the dark, but have a go as early as possible. You've got more opportunity to succeed and more opportunity to have the benefits of that. And I'm pleased to say that we've now had over 12,000 college students go through our Ignite programme to help them to have that understanding of entrepreneurialism and enterprise. And I'm hoping to bring some stats back to the cabinet regarding how many of those have gone on to set up their own businesses as well in due course. But whatever they choose to do in their working lives, having that understanding will be of real benefit to them. So those are three things that we're working on within the County Council. They all fill gaps in the provision that others offer, which is what we aim to do here. And all three, I think, have real value for people in our place. I said that I'd mention trends. So the first of those trends is unemployment, people claiming universal credit in the 18 to 24 bracket, which at the last cabinet meeting stood at 4.1% of our population. It now stands at 3.9%. So I'm pleased to see that continuing to reduce. Our overall rate of universal credit claimants now stands at 2.8% of the working age population, which again is a fall from last month and compares to a regional rate of 5% and a national rate of 3.9%. Colleagues, Staffordshire is somewhere where there are plenty of opportunities available to you for work and good work. And it is important that we continue to link people and businesses together so that they can make the most of those opportunities. But I think we can all feel confident that we are succeeding in that regard and that we're continuing to work hard to reinforce that success going forwards. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for the oral update. Does anybody have any questions for Councillor White? It's good news and excellent progress that we're making, and absolutely delighted that the apprenticeship scheme is taking off as it has. If I could just reinforce your plea for more people to come forward for the apprenticeship scheme, that would be fantastic. And as for the employment opportunities across the county, remember our overall objective is more and better paid jobs. Those opportunities do exist across the county of Staffordshire, and we would strongly encourage people to take those up where appropriate. Thank you very much indeed. The next item on the agenda is the final financial outturn report 2021 to 2022, brought to you by myself and the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources. Councillor Parry, if you'd like to lead off on this.
Thank you, Leader. This is the final outturn report. That means that this is the report for the Council's accounts, if you like, been signed off today, that were ended at the end of the 1st of March this year. So last year's accounts, if you like. And what we know now, in terms of how that's settled, is that there's just short of a £4 million underspend, which is quite an achievement, given that last year was probably, we might consider, the last year of the pandemic proper, in the sense of lockdown and restrictions and all of those sort of things, and still dealing with all of the challenges of the COVID pandemic. And so, you know, dealing with large amounts of cash coming into the authority to deal with some of those challenges and problems. And again, a remarkable achievement by the council and the finance team and the service teams to be able to deliver an outcome like this, given the complexity of the finances of the council at that time. And I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's a message worth repeating. It has been an extraordinarily difficult time for the council, and it's pleasing to see that financially we've come through that really well. That 3.9 million, that short of £4 million underspend, will need to be utilised in the current financial year, given that when we set the budget back in February, since then, of course, the pandemic seems to have moved off the radar a little bit, but up pops a range of other problems and other challenges that the council now need to face. And we know what they are: inflation, cost, and potentially wage inflation increases, supply chain problems, putting pressure on prices of commodities and materials. So the inflation pressures upon the council will be significant in the current year, and that's why we've decided to move this underspend into an inflation reserve that we can draw down on to support some of those inflationary pressures. On top of that, of course, we know what's happening to the energy market, the volatility there, the price increases there, the uncertainty there. All of these things will have an impact upon the council's finances. Therefore, clearly what we're about this year, based on a good outturn last year, is to maintain that stability and sustainability financially for the council. We recognise, obviously, that households are also under pressure. The cost of energy, the cost of inflation upon household budgets is no doubt something which occupies us all. But I think from our point of view, having heard from the Deputy Leader in terms of what we're doing in the economy, in terms of providing jobs and opportunities, providing entrepreneurs with new opportunities, I think those are the things that we can do best, alongside maintaining a stable council, a financially stable council that is not, as we've seen elsewhere, councils wrestling with an inability to actually focus on their finances and make sure that they are delivering a stable budgets against all of the pressures that we've got. On top of that, of course, we know about the uncertainty in the care market, not just coming out of the pandemic and how that will settle down, what the demand pressures will be like there. Also, the potential impact of the health and care bill, if that sees the light of day, and the cost pressures that will bring to the county council is something else that we need to take into account and we need to prepare ourselves for, as well as lobbying and ensuring that national politicians understand the implications of those actions. We see continuing pressure upon the number of children coming to the care system. That brings its own cost pressures as you know the service works hard to turn that around, to implement new family support mechanisms to try and ensure that children come to the care system are the right children coming to the care system, and if possible we can manage that demand better. Those are pressures that we still wrestle with and are still large amounts of cash that we need to find, and we have found so far. So the outcome, I think, Leader, colleagues, is a positive outcome in the sense that we've delivered more than a balanced budget and underspend, that we're not going to necessarily support carry forwards because we feel that it's more important to create that reserve for dealing with inflation, which is something which could quite easily have considerable impact on our budget if we don't manage it properly, if we don't manage it carefully. So a good outturn, but caution for the future. We've still got, we've dealt with one problem, now we've got half a dozen new ones on the horizon. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to yourself and Rob Salmon for the outstanding work you do in managing our finances. But I'd also look around the room to all portfolio holders and how you run your budgets. It's a corporate effort. We have for many years adopted a corporate approach to our budgeting and tribute to you for managing your budgets as well as you do. I'm afraid to say you're going to have to continue managing the budgets extremely closely, because things are going to get difficult. As we know in EI&S, Economy, Infrastructure and Skills, things like the cost of tarmac, building materials and the like, wage inflation, as Councillor Parry referred to during his presentation of the report, are only going one way at the moment and doing so dramatically. So with the tributes also comes the, I suppose, the request to keep a mindful eye on the budgets. I know that Councillor Parry and Rob Salmon will keep reminding you of those facts during the course of the financial year. And as we know, things come up during the year which we need to tackle that we didn't expect to see. We've done that in a good way, in a calm way, which has allowed us to continue to deliver efficiently and effectively for the people of Staffordshire. And we're going to have to continue on with that. Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to make? Councillor White.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just briefly, and I may be at risk of reiterating what you've said, but if I do, then I think it bears repeating. It always feels like a bit of a political risk reporting and underspend as a local authority, but it is it's a slight, it's an accounting term, but it's actually a slight misdescription, I think, because what this is very, very strong financial management in a well financially managed organisation to protect against a rainy day where we can see the clouds on the horizon. We know that our costs are going to increase dramatically. We don't know exactly by how much at the moment, but we know they're going to increase. We're working very hard as an organisation to reduce our costs wherever we can. We don't just sign an extra cheque because somebody asks for it, but this prudent financial management and these figures that we've reported here allow us to give our residents the confidence that we can continue to deliver the services that they need, and that we are a stable authority and that's incredibly important and not to be taken lightly. And that underspend, as I say, is not an underspend in any sense that I would consider if I was managing my household budget. It is the money there that we know we're going to need for something in the very near future. So well done to you, and we know you'll keep a very close eye both on how we're spending that money, but also on the value for money that we're getting as we go forwards.
With no one else indicating, Councillor Parry, can you give us the recommendations, please?
And thank you for those comments. I think the reputation, which has been hard won in Staffordshire, of being financially well run, is something that we can be proud of, and that Rob, his team, and predecessors over years have established that ability to be a financially well run council, which we continue to be. So I recommend to Cabinet this morning that Cabinet members note the outturn position. B, that Cabinet members approve the contribution of the underspend of 3.984 million into an earmark reserve for inflationary pressures in the future years, and that carry forward requests set out in paragraph 2 of this report are not approved. And C, Cabinet members approve the capital financing arrangements as set out in Appendix 3, including the capitalisation of transformational revenue expenditure. I move.
All those in favour? Agreed. For the record, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Councillor Parry. We're still with you as we move forward to agenda item number 8, which is the Corporate Delivery Plan 2022-2023. Before you present the report, Councillor Parry, I'll just say that I presented this to the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. It was well received. Members of Cabinet, I'll draw your attention to the fact that there's things that need to be delivered with your names next to it, so there's nowhere to hide. But Councillor Parry, if you'd like to present the rest of the report.
Thank you, Leader. And as you rightly say, this is the latest update based on our overall corporate delivery plan, which is a long-term delivery plan. This is the aspect of that, the part of that which is in the current financial year 22-23, and is in some detail, as you say. So the appendix to this, which goes into significant detail, this is not about motherhood and apple pie. This is about some strong key detailed deliverables that Cabinet members and corporate directors are responsible, and their teams are responsible for delivering. Overall, the plan is on track. There are obviously areas where we need to keep an eye on, potentially around, as we've mentioned already, around families, communities, and the challenges and the acute challenges, if you like, in that sector that are really, really difficult to manage. But people are doing a sterling job in doing that. Health and care, which is probably a longer term pressure in terms of how that pans out in terms of the health and care plan, plus how demand changes over time. I won't go through all of it, Chair, but if Cabinet members want to pitch in with anything they want to report, by exception, either good performance or areas where they'd like to fess up to areas that they'd like to put a bit more effort into, that would be a good. This is a balanced scorecard. It isn't perfect. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be a delivery plan, and all delivery plans will have their ups and downs.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Anybody up for fessing up? There's the two over there. Look, that's brilliant. I tell you who else needs to fess up. Helen Riley, with 11 working days left to go. You're mentioned quite a lot in this report. Councillor Price and then Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for the report, Councillor Parry. Just to highlight a couple of the issues, or a couple of the items, sorry, which is on page 44 and 45 of the report. So one in particular around SEND, and as you know, we had a SEND local area revisit inspection at the beginning of this year. Following the publication, we are responding to the areas that require further improvement as detailed within the Accelerated Progress Plan, and linking to this, of course, the delivery of our SEND strategy. I'm also pleased to see that the activities we're delivering are identified within the SEND Green Paper consultation, which we will be responding to. We recognise there's still a lot to do in SEND, and with our partners we are determined to address these, and some of this will be challenging because of the increasing future demand on finance and potential resources available. Also just wanted to say a couple of words quickly on the white paper as well. So the Department for Education has published the white paper Opportunity for All, Strong Schools with Great Teachers for Your Child. This sets out the ambition for our children and our schools. And since the publication in March, further policy statements explaining measures in the schools bill have now been published. These policy statements will be used to support the direction and activity of the Education and Skills Partnership Group, so that in the future we are able to deliver our responsibilities as set out in the bill. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to just talk very briefly and highlight some of the areas within this that come within my my areas of responsibility. That go into just a little bit more detail that's in the actual high-level part of the report. And the first one, that's about our will to embed the Children's Transformation programme as we go forward. And part of that will be, developing a strategy to ensure that children needing our care will have access to suitable internal or external provision. The next thing is the corporate parenting strategy. Everyone in this authority and wider are corporate parents with a responsibility for ensuring that children in our care get what they deserve. And there's a mantra that if it's not good enough for your own children, then it wouldn't be good enough for those children in our care. So as part of this, there is a review and an update on that. We had an excellent start to this with the corporate parenting panel on Monday. And a really important part of that is that we particularly take into view the views of children and young people who are in our care. And if one thing about the new strategy as we develop it is we're embedding it based on the views of children. Another area within my responsibility will be access to early help and support. So we'll be working on that local offer. As well as children's public health, ensuring that our priorities of children's well-being, mental health, obesity, and importantly, infant mortality are concentrated upon. And last but not least, the one thing I wanted to mention, and that was early years. The first 1,001 days in anybody's life are absolutely critical, and it's essential that we have an offer that gives best start to children who are born and live within this county. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you. The delivery plan sets out a great deal of work for Cabinet members and SLT leads over the forthcoming year, which you will be held accountable for by the scrutiny committees. So it's quite important that we pay attention to what's in this. Councillor DeVille isn't here today, but I'm not quite sure how he managed to get away with so few items being on the delivery plan. But I suppose lie low, move fast. I think that's the old adage, isn't it? Councillor Jessel.
Yes, thank you very much, Leader. I mean, there are a wide number of areas within adult social care that are going to undertake change because of national legislation. Some of the impact of that is yet to be fully understood. And I think the one thing that underlines this programme is the acknowledgement that we can't carry on doing the same old things. We've got to do things differently. Comments have been made, that we've got low unemployment in the county, which is really good news. But the other side of that coin is, of course, recruitment is in itself a real challenge. And when you're wanting to change services, we do need to ensure that we promote this organisation as it is, as an attractive employer, because that actually impinges on how we change. The other thing is, and it's part of our overall strategy, is actually empowering our staff. They're at the sharp end. They have ideas, and we need to empower them that they feel able to put forward those suggestions, those ideas, so that we can develop our services, deliver a quality service in a more efficient way. We have to make better use of the human resource we have. That isn't flogging people to death, that actually is being a lot smarter. And it's smarter use of IT. So I think certainly within adult social care, as one of the big budget spenders, I appreciate the financial pressures that are there, and we will do our utmost to live within our means. But it does mean that we will have to be quite bold and do things differently. It's not only dealing with the day-to-day work, but it's actually, and within the plan, it's looking at how we can work with districts and boroughs to ensure that there is a range of accommodation that suits people's needs for the future when they retire, when they get older. We've got to promote that feeling that there is accommodation out there so people can remain independent and active as long as possible, which is what we all want. We don't want to have to depend on social care and the NHS all the time. That is a longer term plan, but it's that underlying principle of being responsible and self-reliant. And those are principles underlying the whole of this plan and what we're wanting to achieve. So it's going to be a challenge, but challenges are exciting. Shortage of resource, whether it's human or finance, does actually drive innovation. And I think actually that's what drives me to do this job, and I think drives us all, that actually we've got the skills, the talents and the will to rise to that challenge. Thank you.
Well said. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I think we've made a commitment that creating a sustainable and maintaining a sustainable environment and having the infrastructure to support that is an important part of this delivery plan. And started with me to go on, and the 3 items on the agenda later, which in my portfolio, which begin to deliver on that. So we're well on the way on this, and I think the commitments we've made can be delivered, and I'll have more to say about that later.
And having mentioned Councillor DeVille, Councillor Northcott's been with us only a few weeks, and he's been mentioned by name. So everybody's been picked up for a few things. Councillor Parry, would you care to sum up and give us the recommendations, please?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for those contributions and for that. What I think is an honest assessment of where we are, which is really important, that we recognise the challenges, we recognise the difficulties. It's not all kind of fantastic news. We realise there are some things that we need to manage. If I therefore can, Leader, recommend to Cabinet that Cabinet notes the progress made in developing a corporate delivery plan for 2022-23, and B, approve the Council's corporate plan for 2022-23. I move.
All those in favour? For the record, that is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The next item on the agenda is the Digital Connectivity Strategy for Staffordshire, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'm pleased to introduce the County Council's Digital Infrastructure Strategy today, which sets out the next phase of our journey to ensure Staffordshire is a fully connected and digital connected county. We have an ambition to accelerate delivery of gigabit capability and technologies, maximising the opportunities and benefits for businesses and residents, enabling the growth of our digital economy. The previous phase, which everybody aware of, which was Superfast Staffordshire, made a real difference across the county to ensure that a majority of premises in Staffordshire had access to super fast broadband. And the gain share mechanism, which was part of that, secured through that programme, will fund the aspirations in our new strategy. And the new strategy focuses on the new national ambition for ensuring universal gigabit connectivity in premises by 2030, and the government has a target of 85% of the UK being delivered commercially by 2025. Our approach in achieving this in Staffordshire is based on the County Council enabling successful delivery across the county through 3 key strands, which is the digital infrastructure, digital connectivity and demand stimulation. The work will be led through a digital connectivity hub and will be based on the different approach from superfast broadband, where we'll be enabling the market to deliver rather than delivering to ourselves in partnership with a company. We are aware, as you said right at the beginning in your introduction, Leader's introduction, The world is becoming more digital. It's estimated that in the next few years that an average household and businesses over 200 devices connected, and the demand for services will be 1 million devices per square kilometre in urban areas. So the successful Superfast Staffordshire programme to connect non-commercially viable premises is coming to an end, but there are still 22,000 premises in the county with less than 30 gigabytes access. And the original programme and the addition of council vouchers programme supported 93 communities connecting over 3,500 extra households and businesses. Now, the investment by the council in the Superfast programme has delivered a return, and I talked about the gain share, and is forecastable to be approximately £4 million. 1 million of that has already been allocated to support further support for businesses and residents in Staffordshire to gain access through the Superfast programme. Now, for the preparation for the new strategy, an open market review has taken place, and we estimate the commercial development by 2025 will be 82%. That leaves about 70,000 premises across the county that will be left without access to the new speeds and will need intervention. And we estimate that over 4,500 premises in Staffordshire will remain very hard to reach. So there's still some way to go, even with the rollout which we're doing now. Project Gigabit is a £5 billion government initiative with £1.9 billion allocated in the first phase to enable delivery of that market review and those identified intervention areas where we have less connectivity. Staffordshire has been initially allocated between 70 million and 1.23 million to deliver gigabit capacity services in those intervention areas. The tender process is expected to take place this summer and delivery expected to be completed by 2027. We do not expect the first page of Project Gigabit to be in a position to deliver all of those areas that are missing out. So there's more work to be done with mobile operators to deliver increased rural connectivity through a £1 billion government investment in shared rural networks, and also to improve the 4G situation, and also to introduce more 5G mobile services into our rural areas particularly. Because I think what we've got to do is ensure that those rural areas are connected and don't miss out on this. Work on this infrastructure is key to enabling the council to deliver on its strategic outcomes of our digital first strategy. Therefore, as well as working on delivering the physical connectivity infrastructure, either fixed or through mobile 5G, work has been done to assist in signposting residents and businesses to the new services. We have a new gigabit website, a barrier busting initiative, a red carpet approach where required, for instance, to support the adoption of the new digital services, e.g. digital technologies for independent living, access to remote learning, road sensors for reduced pollution, infrastructure for autonomous cars, which are coming down the road very fast, enhanced visitor experiences, smart living, agro-tech, monitoring ecosystems and protecting biodiversity, enabling logistics and using 5G services. You can see the massive use of this rollout which we'll have for Staffordshire, and what we want to see is Staffordshire at the front of this, and this strategy will put us in that place. And using that gain share funding, Staffordshire will be in an excellent position to take advantage of these opportunities presented in with digital technologies that go throughout this structure to deliver that tremendous change that we need. A lot has been done to date with the Superfast broadband. We're moving now to another level where we can get the aspiration in place so we can have that gigabit capability across the county. And it's a 5-year programme until 2027 as outlined in the papers. And we took this to scrutiny back in April and received the endorsement of the members of scrutiny to push forward on this. And we have an excellent team in place to deliver this, leader. So I'll stop there and read the recommendations in a bit, but I'll open up for comments and questions on what is an excellent strategy for Staffordshire.
So this is an enabler. And I look to portfolio holders to think and use your imagination and creativity about how you can best use the money we're spending on this enabling technology to deliver services in your portfolio in a different way. Things from, which I'm sure the Deputy Leader will talk to, working from home, how we deliver adult social services, how we remain in contact with children and young people, how we deliver smart roads, how public health is delivered in the future. All these things become a possibility with a digital-enabled county. So think creatively, because we don't just want to think about how we solve problems in a traditional way. think about the problem itself and how this new technology lends itself to new solutions. I think there's an opportunity here that really presents itself to us, and I ask you to go out and look to see what others are doing and come up with new ideas yourself to make the most of the investment that Councillor Tagg has just referred to. Councillor White.
Thank you very much, Leader. And it's really good to hear the passion in your voice, Councillor Tagg, as you were delivering that report. It's really important work, but it's complex work, and it's good to have somebody who's got a real grip on it, who is driving it. And no area where it's more important than in terms of our economic development. So the Leader mentioned home working, and we know that home working is here to stay as a much more manifest part of how our economy operates. And in a rural county like Staffordshire, where we're 80% rural, it's incredibly important that we don't have gaps in our coverage. We need people to be able to access high-speed internet connections wherever they happen to be based. And it's one of the areas where the market struggles without some help from the public sector, and that's properly our job to step into that gap and to make sure that those services can be provided. Principally, though, and you mentioned the red carpet, principally by making it really easy for businesses to come and operate in our part of the world to deliver these services, and that's something that we've got a lot of experience of in terms of other types of infrastructure development, rolling out that red carpet for businesses so that they choose to come to Staffordshire because they know they can get things done here. It's really important that we look to do this with this area of infrastructure, both in our larger population areas, but also in those rural areas. Businesses expect this now, and we need them to have the things they expect, but also that impact on people's personal lives and how they choose to work. The easier it is for people to work in the way they want in Staffordshire, the more of the brightest and the best we will keep here and attract here, and that's incredibly important. So more power to your arm in terms of delivering this.
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Leader. A couple of points, and I suppose a little bit of a question for the Cabinet member. Paragraph 9 talks about gigahubs, which seem a really fantastic idea, and it's identified that there are already 75 public assets been identified. So my question really is about will that actual hub then help with connectivity more generally in the area, as opposed to just the school, the library, or wherever it might be? So that's the point I wanted to ask.
Come back to you in a minute, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Parry?
The phrase that you used, Leader, about enabling, and this is an enabler, I think is something that needs some clarification, doesn't it? Because we're not responsible for providing internet or broadband connectivity to businesses and homes. That's for the private sector to do. And what I think might have been an experience of some people in that providers were not as accommodating when they thought there was a marginal economic benefit to them of introducing infrastructure. So I know of some communities who had to pay quite sizable amounts between them to get the pipe laid so that they could join in the fun, kind of thing. I think we need to be clear that our responsibility here is to utilise resources and funding to gap fill and to provide that enabling technology or that enabling facility. But at the end of the day, it's a bit like buses. We don't run buses. We're not internet provider services. I think we need to be fairly clear that that's where we are. We're an enabler, and we want the very best for our economy, for residents to access information and book their holidays, get a job, or whatever they need to do using the latest technology. But this is also an area of technology that moves very quickly, is expensive, and can quite quickly become obsolete. There is that built-in obsolescence to some of this stuff. So we need to be also mindful that this will move on very quickly and will move to the next level of technology.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for the comments as well. And I think Also, I'd like to pay tribute to the team that delivered the Superfast programme, particularly the political will to do it those years ago. I think through Mark Winnington, who was a previous portfolio holder, that gain share that we've gained out of that really smooths the way and smooths the path for this strategy, which we're going to deliver. Just responding to Mark Sutton's comment, yes, those giga hubs are the way forward to is almost like a beacon for the connectivity that then can be fed onto in neighbouring properties. But using our libraries, doctors' surgeries, and rural schools, we have access to those properties, and we can put them into this £17 million programme that we're part of across the West Midlands to enable that connectivity to begin to then drip out into the community from those as well. So I will move to the recommendations, Leader. Very pleased to move them, if I can find them on the right page. There we go. Yes, I recommend to Cabinet that we approve the Digital Infrastructure Strategy Framework for Staffordshire, and that B, support the use of the £4 million gain share funding to resource and support delivery of that framework through the Digital Connectivity Hub and Delivery Programme, and that C, delegated authority for the Director of Economic Infrastructure and Skills in consultation with myself as the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change to fund digital connectivity projects and programmes that market the opportunity improved digital connectivity brings, demonstrates and tests new connectivity technologies and its advantages and pilot connectivity solutions through the use of the gain share funding. I so move, Mr. Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. It has been moved. All those in favour? For the record, that is unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on then to agenda item number 10, the Newcastle Enterprise Centre Extension Scheme. For the record, Councillor White is now leaving the meeting, having declared an interest. Just wait for him to go. The Newcastle Enterprise Centre Extension Scheme should be brought to you by Councillor DeVille this morning, but Councillor DeVille has unexpectedly been called away, so is unable to make the meeting. So on his behalf, I will present the report as best I can. It obviously won't be as entertaining or as interesting or delivered with such verve and vigour as perhaps Councillor DeVille would have done, but I'll give it my best shot. And I'm looking really for marks out of 10 in a sort of Strictly Come Dancing style, if that's okay, ladies and gentlemen. The Newcastle Enterprise Centre Extension Scheme is a key part in the overall Nutton Master Plan, regenerating the wider area around Nutton, strengthening the local community and boosting its economic growth. The recently adopted Staffordshire County Council Economic Strategy contains the requirement for Staffordshire County Council to provide premises for people to grow their businesses. Furthermore, our strategy sets out the need to maximise external funding opportunities. This project is for the delivery of those principles at the Newcastle Enterprise Centre, Nutton. The Enterprise Centre has been operating for 35 years and there's been a long-held aspiration to increase the lettable workshop space, but no previous extension scheme has been cost-effective. There's a constant stream of requests for workshop space at the centre, especially of the 600 square foot plus size, and this scheme aims to meet that demand. Newcastle Borough Council, and we have the leader of Newcastle Borough Council on our cabinet here, Councillor Simon Tagg, has recognised the socio-economic benefit of the increased lettable space at the Enterprise Centre and is offering a grant of £1.14 million through the Town Deal Initiative. And Councillor Tagg, you might wish to say something about that in a moment. A feasibility and costing study by Trust of a 4,500 square foot extension has been modelled financially and is considered acceptable and affordable to the financial team. Therefore, we look forward to people being able to develop their businesses at the expanded Enterprise Centre. And Councillor Tagg, if I can bring you in for a few comments at this point, please.
Certainly, Leader. Yes, no, completely welcome this, and I'd just echo your comments of the people, businesses really want these spaces, and I'm sure they will be let very easily, and they're an ideal size for businesses to start up and then grow before they move on to a bigger premises, and through just through the levelling up bid which the Borough Council is going to put in for actually even bigger business units for the next level, because what we want is these businesses to stay in Newcastle, continue to employ people in Newcastle, but these enterprise units, as we've seen in Cannock Chase, as we've seen in Silverdale, and the one in Nutton are brilliant, and I really think that the Town Deal money being put in by the Town Deal Board is excellent. I think when we think of town deals, we think of town centres, seems too much focus on them, but this is about one of our villages, one of the places where it's got high unemployment, low skills, and I think this is an ideal opportunity for businesses to set up and hopefully use local workforce. So I'm completely in favour of this. I think it's great and look forward to it coming to fruition.
We have another Newcastle-under-Lyme County Council with us. Councillor Northcott, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Leader. This is great news for Newcastle. The effort and finance and the work that's going into regenerating Nutton is further enhanced by this. This bridges that gap, as you pointed out, between the bigger logistics, which there's a plethora of those units in Newcastle and continue to be exploited and used by the business community. But this bridges a gap for those that want to start off businesses and take it to the next step. This is local to Nutton. The actual workforce hopefully will be generated from there with the growth of the potential housing that's going to be put in there in terms of regenerating Nutton. This is linked extrinsically to this, and I think it's absolutely great that we're actually in a position to be able to bring this to the council and bring this to Newcastle in terms of the employment situation that we need to work on, and not to get lax about getting complacent. We need to be on top of that. We need to make sure that Staffordshire as a whole is competitive, and this is just one of the pieces of the jigsaw that fans that. Thank you.
And if I could pick up that theme, Councillor Northcott, this is indeed one piece of the jigsaw. Working with district and borough colleagues across the county, we're seeing great strides being made working together with those district and borough colleagues to develop the economy, to develop the sense of place, and to develop Staffordshire as a destination for business and people to live, work and play. And I'm absolutely delighted with the progress that's being made with the Leaders Board, for example, the first public meeting of which will take place next week. And that's a shining example of how we're working together brilliantly in both tiers of local government to deliver better value for the residents who we all represent. With nobody else indicating, I'll move to the recommendations that Cabinet approves the acceptance of investment of about 1.14 million from the Newcastle Town Deal, Newcastle Borough Council, thank you, initiative to facilitate the delivery of an extension to the Newcastle Enterprise Centre at Nutton. Secondly, that Cabinet endorses the investment of up to £440,000 of Staffordshire County Council borrowing to facilitate the delivery of the extension to the Newcastle Enterprise Centre at Nutton, noting that the borrowing costs will be repaid from the increased rental income generated on site and will be underwritten by the Business and Engagement Enterprise Revenue Budget. My reading's gone off today. And third, delegated authority is given to the Director for Economy, Infrastructure and Skills and the Director of Corporate Services to enter into the relevant contractual and other arrangements pursuant to the delivery of the project. It is moved. Ladies and gentlemen, can you indicate in favour or not? All those in favour? Yep. For the record, it is unanimous. Can somebody please find Councillor White? Thank you. It was approved.
Good news.
The next item on the agenda is the mobilisation of Staffordshire's household waste recycling centres, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, for the first time in 27 years, on the 30th of March 2022, our household waste recycling sites came under the full control of Staffordshire County Council. We've got 14 sites across within the county, and we also have an involvement in a site in Warwickshire, but they're now back under full County Council control, which a policy is attached under Appendix 1, which shows how we're going to take those forward. But we now have an opportunity, in my view, to look at some key things to do with these sites. One of them is that we provide a safe service for use and operation, not only by our officers that are working there, but also for the public. The service maximises recycling opportunities, which is key as part of our overall strategy, and that we provide best value for the public purse in the way we run these sites, and also that we can match the customer demand, particularly from our residents on using these sites. Mark DeVille isn't here today, but I would like to thank him for the period of the bringing in-house, which was part of his portfolio, for taking it back in-house. And now that has happened, it now sits within my portfolio to deliver on those key opportunities which I've just outlined. And along the way, we'll be asking our scrutiny committee later in the autumn to look at this in detail on way we can improve these sites even further, and how we can increase usage and increase the recycling opportunities to ensure that we have the best sites, really, I believe, in the country for this, and that we're a leader in taking these forward. I mean, we all use these sites in the country, in the county, across the county, and I was actually visited the Biddulph site on Saturday to do some household recycling myself, and you can see, you know, the ways that we can improve them further. And I think working with our staff, who are now our staff, and also with our membership here through the scrutiny process, I think when we come back in the autumn, we'll have some more proposals to take the service forward. But this is just a report to say, you know, mobilisation complete, back in-house, and all is good. And we will go through to the autumn and bring forward some proposals to improve it even further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I'm reminded that because of what you said, and Councillor DeVille would say it if he was here, we start with the customer, the user of the household waste recycling centres and their experience of that. And that needs to be an effective and efficient experience, maximising recycling when they visit. So I do hope that those improvements are seen quickly, and I'm sure under your stewardship that will be the case. Does anybody have any comments? We've got the chairman of the Joint Waste Management Board for Staffordshire. Are you still the Joint Waste Management Board for chairman for Staffordshire?
I am not.
Oh, sorry.
I was given a new cabinet role over at Stafford Borough Council, and they are currently seeking a new Joint Waste Management Board, although I do think we may have a volunteer.
That's excellent, because certainly 3 of us around this table have been chairman of the Joint Waste Management Board for Staffordshire. You, me, Councillor Jessel. Anybody else had a go at it? Councillor Wilson, have you had a go? No? Okay. Well, maybe we've got a potential volunteer. Who knows? Right. If there's no comments, if you could give us recommendations, please, Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'll move the recommendation. I recommend that we note the work that has been completed to deliver the successful insourcing, I hate that word, of the household waste recycling network. B, note that there is a current policy of usage for household waste recycling centres that details how waste from non-household sources will be managed, Appendix A. C, note the need to review the current infrastructure and mobile plant across the network and invest where appropriate to maintain a modern, efficient network. And then D, to note that following the input from Prosperous Overview and Scrutiny Committee, it is intended that a report will be submitted to Cabinet in the autumn on the network to consider a 5-year costed maintenance improvement plan and review and update usage policies. I'll move those recommendations.
Thank you. All those in favour? Agreed. Okay, for the record, that is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to the, you know how you say you can't get enough of a good thing? Agenda item 12, Staffordshire Sustainability Board Vision and Council Commitments, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change. Drum roll, please. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, this fits together with the other couple of items which I brought, particularly the last item, which one of the things we're working very closely with our district colleagues is on the waste agenda and bringing together our waste services so we have a unique, a similar service across the county. But for me, this is a landmark decision today. One that's been taken by all of the districts during this month. I took it through Newcastle last week to adopt this base pledge, and I'm really pleased to see the Staffordshire Sustainability Board is up and running. We have a full agenda of local authorities working together to achieve our goals. Some goals are different, some are 2030, but we at the county have a 2050 goal to reach net zero. But we're doing it all in bite-sized chunks anyway. So working with our district's colleagues, we can ensure that we not only learn from best practice from them, but also help them as well to achieve their goals. Because in the end, we are a county, and we all have to work together to achieve that goal. So you will see the base pledge attached and the vision and the council commitments attached to this agenda, and it covers various areas such as make sure we all start from the same baseline with reporting, so that the public and those community groups that are interested in environmental issues can see that we're all delivering on what we say we're going to do, and then they can compare that we're delivering on what they say they can do. Item 2 is that we roll out carbon literacy training awareness, not only through our membership on the council, but also our senior managers, and cascade it through staff, our staff as well, to ensure that carbon literacy and awareness is one of the tools which all of the employees have at their disposal. And I know that a lot of members in this room have taken that already, and more will be taking it soon along with officers. And to roll that through our workforce will be really important to get it to be ingrained, to be that everybody is aware. Second is the ambassador's role, isn't it? We as a local authorities only account for 2% of the carbon emissions in the county. The rest of it comes from transport, from businesses, from residential properties. So it's really important that we as councils ambassadorize that and get out and spread the message, which we are doing. And each of the cabinet portfolio holders that is a member of the Stafford Sustainability Board is in their local area, that champion and that ambassador for this agenda. Communications, obviously we're all working in the same direction, and we should be communicating in the same direction. I've just got here I wasn't able to cover this myself because of the elections, but we had Earth Day on the 22nd of April, and thank you for Victoria for covering this. But we had the 1 tonne balloon, which was hoisted, wherever you want to call it, in Stafford town centre, which showed the amount of a tonne of CO2, and those type of things really had a massive impact. It was on the national news. It was covered by national media. So I think each districts are doing good things, and they're feeding all that into the sustainability. But our comms team here at the county will ensure that we have a joined-up comms approach, which really sort of champions and promotes the work that we're all doing. So communications is key for that behavioural change. Next one is the green energy and energy reduction. We're all signing up to a commitment to 100% green energy and to reduce energy, and have plans in place to reduce energy consumption on council properties as well. And also to move in our fleets. We all have fleets of vehicles, whether it's in the districts, it's the waste vehicles, or whether it's our highways fleet here at the County Council, moving towards those low carbon fuels, and also sharing good practice and innovation between the districts. Each district, particularly up in Newcastle, we're promoting biofuel for some of our vehicles, and also hydrogen tests as well. So that to be learned, and shared across the county is what the Sustainability Board is all about. And I've touched on waste and recycling, which of course we are harmonising the waste and recycling services across the county, moving to that dual system where we have the bin for recycling and the blue bag for the paper, and the rest going in the bin. And then touched on it already, 10 is innovation and technology, and that working collaboratively, and also working not only between councils working with each other, but also, for example, our wonderful university in the North, Kiel, which is one of the leaders in the environment and sustainability agenda, as we all have that commitment. And I believe that the members of the Sustainability Board have the passion as well to deliver on our commitments for net zero within our vision, and it all fits in with the government's drive and targets for us as well. So those 9 authorities which are detailed at the bottom of the pledge, as I say, are all taking this base pledge through their council. Some have already done it, and I move the Cabinet does that and open it for questions and comments.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Price.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Tagg, as well for driving this agenda forward. We all recognise how extremely important it is. And over at the road at Stafford Borough Council, I've just been upgraded to the portfolio holder for climate change, because we recognise how important that is. And I just wanted to say that Staffordshire County Council does very, very well and is excellent when it comes to doing collaborative working with the boroughs and district. And I took this paper through at Stafford Borough Council last Thursday, and I think it's absolutely the right thing to do, and I wholeheartedly support it. Just incidentally, I did introduce the blue bag about 18 months ago. A lot of controversy when we first introduced it, but actually we've had no complaints since. And the beauty as well is that the quality of our recycling has gone up, and it works really, really well. So thank you for everything that you're doing, Councillor Tagg, and for driving this agenda. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to pay tribute to you, Did you want to, were you indicate? No, I just want to pay tribute to you, Councillor Tagg, for the way you've embraced this agenda. It is a practical way forward. It isn't overly ridiculously ambitious in the way that it can't be achieved. I've spoken to a number of local authority leaders who've set themselves targets of 2030, 2025, for example. It's not been set by them, it's been set for them by their membership. The costs of achieving these sort of targets is ridiculous. And what we've opted to do here in Stafford, and I want to be clear about this, is we've opted to take practical steps on a year-by-year basis, delivering on what is, to all intents and purposes, corporate social responsibility, reducing our carbon outputs. I did start the carbon literacy training last night, Councillor Tagg. You said it would take 15 minutes. You lie like a cheap watch, Councillor Tagg, because once I'd been at it for 25 minutes, I had to park it because I'd run out of time. But it is, from what I saw, it is most certainly comprehensive, that's for sure. And I enjoyed the parts of it that I was able to get going with. But I think this reflects a very practical approach to the challenge of carbon reduction. It isn't something that's going to cause us undue and unaffordable expense in times of inflation and other financial challenges, and it does fulfill our duties in a meaningful way that people can understand and that people want out there on the streets. They want that recognition, and they want us to move to a place of net zero. So with that, Councillor Tagg, if I can ask you to bring forward any concluding comments and bring us the recommendations, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so I got the comms just about right, didn't I, on the carbon literacy, get you onto there, and then you realise it's a bit longer, but to get you in there is a good thing. And of course, we will be able to roll that tool out, and with our district colleagues as well, so that as many staff within, across of all our local authorities can have that carbon literacy training. I think you're quite right, Councillor Price, when you talk about Stafford, and particularly Stafford and Newcastle being in the vanguard really of the move to the dual system, and we showed that it worked, and we showed that it was a better service, and we showed that it was increasing the amount of recycling that we were bringing in, and of course the other districts are now moving mainly all of them on mass now to that, which is really good. So I think on your final comments, Leader, I think it was this is the start of the process. I think that this cabinet and every cabinet across the county will be getting a lot of business coming through it from the Sustainability Board as we move forward on this. I mean, this is the start. It is an ambitious programme as it is, but we know we have these targets we need to meet. And as I said at the beginning, each of the districts is looking at 5 yearly plans as we move forward on this, so we can measure and also be accountable to our populations for how we deliver on, or whether we deliver earlier on some of this, or we may be longer delayed delivering it, but overall the programme will still be on target, and that can be monitored transparently through the Sustainability Board and also in every individual cabinet. So I'll move the recommendations, if I could, Leader. It's that I recommend to Cabinet that A, members note the formation of the Staffordshire Sustainability Board, which aims to enable successful collaborative working on climate change sustainability across Staffordshire, and that B, members to agree and approve the adoption of the Staffordshire Sustainability Board's vision and council commitments. I move, Leader.
You've heard the recommendations. All those in favour?
Agreed.
For the record, that is unanimous. I move on then to the forward plan of key decisions. These are the July decisions intended to be brought to you in July and in public. The North Staffordshire Local Air Quality Plan, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport. That could be quite interesting, Councillor Tagg. Again in July, the Treasury Management Outturn Report 2021 to 2022, brought to you by Councillor Parry. In July, we've got the approval of Staffordshire County Council's Community Learning Procurement Arrangements 2023 to 2027, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills. In July, in public, we've got the Enhanced Delivery Model for Home Care, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care. In July, we've got the Integrated Performance Report Quarter 1, 2022-2023, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources and myself. And then in private in July, we've got the Highways Future Delivery Model, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport, Councillor Williams. There is no Cabinet meeting scheduled for August. In September and in public, we've got the Startup and Step-Up Support Delivery Plan, brought to you by the Deputy Leader for the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. We've got Families Families Health and Wellbeing 0 to 19 service from April 2024, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton. Again in September, but in private, we've got the Family Hub model, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton. In public, we've got the Section 75 Agreement for Adult Social Care Assessment and Case Management and Occupational Therapy in Staffordshire, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Jessel. Then also the Adult Social Care Reform Implementation, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Jessel. And then moving forward to October in public, Integrated Performance Report Quarter 2, 2022-2023, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources and myself. That is the forward plan of key decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, we move forward to agenda item number 14, which is the exclusion of the public. And for this meeting, Kerry, that means you. Always good to see you. I move that the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972 indicated below. It's moved.